Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EQ book study. Hope you have your book. Today we are on social awareness, and we're really going to focus on social awareness strategies. Page 138 is where we start. And I looked at this list tonight. There's 17 social awareness strategies, kind of a long list. So I picked my favorites. And I also have a situation for us to talk about tonight that actually was a real life scenario that came up this last week. So I really think that some of the suggestions in here are interesting. I don't necessarily agree with all of them, like watching EQ movies. Okay. I think what it's saying is like trying to find examples of emotional intelligence or lack thereof, which I don't think we have to do that at the movies. I'm pretty sure that examples of poor EQ are all around us in real life. We don't have to go to the movies to see it. And interesting thing, the one about greeting people by name, that's just general courtesy. I mean, we talk about social awareness. That is respectful to be able to greet someone, trying to teach my kids, look people in the eye when you speak to them. Some people say it's really hard to remember names. I have a great uncle that he is a well-known basketball coach in the state of Oklahoma, actually in the Hall of Fame. And I don't think he's forgot a name in like 80 years. I mean, he knows everybody and he just has a gift for that. Some people are gifted at that. If it's not your gift, there are some strategies to be able to remember people's names and to be able to work on that. If it's not your gifting, have a buddy that helps you remember. My husband, I'm his buddy. Okay, help me make that connection there. Whenever we moved back to the town he grew up in after we were first married, I didn't know anybody. And he had a hard time because he was a kid then, and they would come up, "Hi, Jonathan." And so I would always just stick my hand out. "Hi, I'm Laura. I'm Jonathan's wife. What's your name?" And saved him a lot of embarrassment. So have a buddy that can help you with that if it's not your gifting, or start to inhale your oils like clarity and start to remember names. That can be a goal for improving your memory. But like I said, there's 17 here, but the ones that I really wanted to focus on were really about to practice the art of listening, which is always a challenge for me, and to seek the whole picture. And along with that building a bridge is in there too. I think that, and that's actually in my other book. So practicing the art of listening. I want to read you this really cool. This is the other book I've been using, EQ Applied, and it's actually a lot more, it's got more examples in it. And it was really kind of fun because I enjoyed reading and kind of seeing how it's applied in real life. There's a story of Dale Carnegie in here that I had marked, and then I'm missing it. And I'm going to move through here and just look really quickly. Okay. But it is an example of how you can impact somebody with, here we go, I'm getting close, I can see it, by just asking questions. So apparently Dale Carnegie was at a, wow, here we go. In the classic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie relates the time he met a distinguished botanist at a dinner party. Throughout the evening, Carnegie writes, he sat at the edge of his chair, fascinated by the man's stories of exotic plants and garden experiments. Carnegie kept him engaged with questions about his own gardening problems and expressed appreciation for his help. When it came time to leave, the botanist turned to the host of the dinner party and praised Carnegie as the most stimulating and a most interesting conversationalist. All he did was ask simple questions. And that's all you have to do to connect a lot of times and build a relationship, is keep it simple. It marvelously illustrates one of the first keys to influencing people is showing personal interest. Showing personal interest, treating others with interest, asking questions not out of a nosy way, but out of curiosity. Being genuinely interested, being authentic in how you speak with them. If you aspire to be a good conversationalist, advised Carnegie, be an attentive listener. Remember that people you are talking to are 100 times more interested in themselves and their wants and problems than they are in you and your problems. Carnegie's advice was valuable when he penned it, but it's even more relevant today because the rise of modern technology has reduced most attention spans, and our social media is all about us. Go into any restaurant and you'll be sure to find a few individuals who can't resist the urge to check their phones every few minutes, often to the chagrin of their dining partners. In contrast, when you treat your conversation partner as the most interesting person in the room, being curious to hear their thoughts and opinions, you stand out as a different person. So I thought that was really, really important. The other part of that was the other point we wanted to talk about tonight was seek the whole picture. And we've talked about this a lot, about understanding and stepping back from a situation, especially in our businesses, especially in our environments where we are, where there's conflict. If there's in a business situation, if you have a brand partner or a customer who's had a poor experience, stepping back and gaining the entire perspective. Sometimes a person is just upset and angry, and not because of you or Young Living. It could be because they had an argument with their spouse or his or her spouse, or maybe they are having financial problems, and it's all just boiling over. You never know what the bigger picture. So a lot of times when you have being socially aware of what's going on, is stepping back and kind of collecting all the information. That goes back to being a good listener, and then being curious and asking questions. And again, your tone is going to be important. Your volume is going to be important. I've had a lot of situations where I'm trying to be socially aware of what's happening between two people. Like, they come to me for almost a mediation within Young Living, and I want to collect all the information, because you know what it's like. Usually in most situations, if you've been a school teacher, if you've been a parent, if you've been a Sunday school teacher of any kind, if you've been around children, there's always two sides to every story. And the truth's probably somewhere in the middle, because we all see from our own perspective, right? We never hear ourselves being more, our tone is always perfect, right? Our tone is, I had good intention. I know. The challenge, especially now, as we're gathering information, is people are not talking and hearing, they're texting or they're writing things. And so you're reading in your own inflection. So if you already have a bent towards a person, and then they say or do something that kind of just barely tweaks that, you're reading it with that emotion to it. So we have to step back and gain perspective, pull ourselves back from the situation, and really see the whole big picture. Here's another good quote that I got from this book. Sir Isaac Newton said, "Tact is the knack of making a point without making an enemy." Sometimes we actually have to stop, and when we see the bigger picture, we have to be able to be tactful. And that is that sandwich conversation you guys have, like where you can agree or say something positive with a person, then you bring the criticism or the correction, and then end again with a positive, to make sure there's a relationship. That we're always trying to, and it's not handling people with kid gloves, but it's continuing to know, hey, I'm on your side. I'm here with you. I want you to understand that I'm going to walk with you through this. My perspective, if you were to put yourself in the other person's shoes, and I said this to you, what would you feel like? Because I know that you have a good heart, and I know your intention, but could you see how the other person is hurt by, or is confused, or is angered by what you said? See how I did that? Sandwiched it in there. Unfortunately, I have a lot of experience with this, with grownups, not just children. But being able to be tactful. And people do you like to hear criticism? Do you like for people to tell you when you're wrong? It's not my favorite thing either, but I will tell you, the more responsibility you have in life, and the more roles that you carry, it's just an opportunity. I tell my 6-year-old all the time, she doesn't like to be wrong. We're learning to read, and she's going to be wrong a lot. And I just kept telling her, I said, the more times that you're wrong, it doesn't mean that you're not smart or it just means that you're working harder. You're getting better. You're doing more things. If you weren't trying to read, you'd never make mistakes and you'd never learn to read. So it's understanding and coming at people from a perspective of, we're getting better at this as leaders. We've messed up. I haven't always handled things the best, but I will in the future. So what we're going to talk about tonight, I want you to go back to that. Remember the recording we talked about back at the beginning. We're going to get ready to break into groups and talk about a case study. But what we're going to do is think about yourself as is that audio recorder so there's a play, a pause. You're talking and then sometimes you need to stop, slow down, give pregnant pauses. When you stop talking, usually people look up and think, okay, or it gets their attention if they might be looking at you and thinking about something else or thinking about what they're going to say, but they stop. And if they're thinking about something else, sometimes some people just jump in, but it's giving you control of your emotions, helping you to stay in touch with what is happening. Fast forward for you to stop and think, I don't want to say something that I would regret potentially. I want to maintain a bridge with this person. I always try to talk about not burning bridges. Sometimes we have to have roadblocks on bridges for unhealthy and toxic relationships, but I don't believe in burning bridges because I think that that's contrary to what I believe biblically. So I would tell you that I sometimes pray for other people to go across that bridge so I don't have to. but the truth of the matter is I don't want to burn a bridge. So anyways, what you want to do is also think about the reverse, the rewind. What did I say that might have you ever been in a moment where you're like, whoa, what just happened? Something just really, this conversation took a turn and I don't remember where it was. So playing it back and even stopping and going, did I say something that offended or angered or confused you? And doing it in a very, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to upset you. Just being humble and honest about it. Also your volume, looking at the volume there and making sure your volume is good. And that as you're recording, also your facial expressions, making sure that your words line up with your body. And a lot of times if you are texting a person, moving it to a phone call is so much better when I tell all the time, I'm like, can we talk? I've had multiple situations and I think it's generational too, because there's some people, I think more and more people are like, why did you call me? Why did you use my phone? Like, that's not what this is for. You're just supposed to text me. Why would you use the most uncommon used app on this thing? The phone. Why do we call it a phone anymore? Anyways, I digress. So what we want to do is go into our scenario now. So we're going to break into rooms and here's what we're going to do. One person is going to be we're going to have two, since we're pretty much all people who are in Young Living, right? We're all people Young Living, but pretty much all people are understand compliance. So one person is going to have posted something with some hot words, some non-compliant. So some of you who are like the compliance police have to step back and put yourself in someone else's shoes. So I want you to think of a post that you've seen that was non-compliant and then think about like so we're going to talk specifically about cancer. There was a post talking about cancer and using frankincense to get rid of cancer. Okay, that's pretty hot, right? That's not allowed on social media. So one person in the group is going to be the person who posted it. The second person in the group, or the other brave soul, because we are going to have an odd number here, it looks like, but I'm not going to participate, so we'll have an even number. The second person, I guess I might have to participate. That's right. So the second person in the group is going to be the person who is the leader that has to make the call and walk them through what to do differently. So let's talk about it for a minute. I'm going to give you what are some scenarios that we can talk about now before you go into those rooms What are some strategies? Let's first put ourselves in the position of the person who's posted something that's inappropriate. You're excited, you're passionate, you feel very strongly about this. You want to help people, right? So start thinking about that. It's absolutely well-intentioned. So there's a word, well-intentioned. I know you're well-intentioned. So as you're putting yourself in that person's shoes, have you ever been called on the carpet for something non-compliant? And how did you feel? Did you feel were you like feeling defensive? Were you feeling embarrassed? Embarrassment can create a lot of, or humiliated because someone called you out, especially if people call you out publicly. Never do that. If you know the person, especially, I call them or text them immediately, or you contact them however you know, or if you don't have their number, contact a leader and say, listen, I know this person has been, is a great influence. I see their passion. I know we can't say this. I don't want to get them or Young Living in trouble, right? So that's how you kind of come at it. What are some what not to do's? What are some things that we shouldn't do in this situation?
You don't want to come at them all mean and go, oh, you've messed up, and so.
I was going to say, don't start off the conversation with the negative of, what are you thinking? What are you doing? You should know better.
Yeah. Melinda, do you want to say something?
No, don't freak out. You come at it really calmly because, isn't that really a reason to freak out? So they just don't understand. Right. So just kind of kindly walking them and guiding them through it. But right. Yeah, coming at it as all intense and, oh my gosh, why did you do that?
Right.
Is just going to shut them down.
Right. The scenario that happened this week was actually handled pretty well, but I had to kind of be in the middle. That's not a fun place to be either. But one thing that could be helpful, I think the other time the person that is coming from a compliance standpoint and saying, this is wrong, maybe has been in those shoes before and has been reprimanded, or their team has been reprimanded. And so maybe it's even identifying those feelings that you're feeling as I'm the compliance police. I don't want to, this is not my job to do this. And feeling those emotions too. So recognizing and being aware of that's self-management, not bringing that into this situation and causing a social, and bringing that into, so you have social awareness. Okay, so we're going to go into breakout rooms. I'm just going to have them be, it's going to manually assign breakout rooms. Oh, we lost somebody. I think, oh no, I should have said, okay, so we have 10 now. So here's the thing, guys. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. Is there anyone who just doesn't want to talk? Who doesn't want to go through the scenarios? Okay, because I can just put you in as an observer. Okay. Okay, so we're going to create these rooms. And then you guys are going to go in and do work together. Sound good? Okie dokie. Okay. All right, your room should be adding you here in a second. Just choose that. And then you should be able to go in. See you in a minute. And we will go do this for the next, let's do it for 20 minutes. You guys think 10 minutes is good? Or do you want 20? 10?
I would do 10.
All right, we're gonna do 10 and then we'll come
I'm
back.
good with 10.
All right, 10 minutes, we'll come back. All right. How fun was that, everybody?
So exciting.
Did anybody get cussed at? Adriana was I was the person she had to correct on compliance, and I tried to give her a hard time, and she just maintained her coolness. It was awesome. Well done, Adriana.
Thank you.
Anybody want to share just a best practice or what they went through?
We did the sandwich technique, and Tammy started out. I put Tammy in the hot seat, and Tammy was having to correct me, and she did good. We talked about how to definitely keep some positivity in there and encourage them, like, hey, I'm so glad you found something that's working for you. I'm glad you found something to help your mom. That's awesome. I'm so happy. I know you've been concerned about them. And then we went through and I said, yeah, but here's the thing, there's something, we have to be super careful about how we word stuff on social media. Yes, it's the truth. In some ways, we related to them and saying, I know it's the truth in that way, but there are different ways to share, and we can do that in a different way. And so we kind of ended up with a solution, a positive solution towards the end.
Very good. Tammy, do you have anything to add to that? Oh, you're not unmuted. Hold on.
I think Keely's been through this before. She handled me very well.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I just now saw the chat that that Ansley said she'll just be an observer. So I'm sorry for which group that was.
It's okay. We just had a good talk. We just
Okay.
talked about questions. Actually, we talked about the back pocket question. What's a good back pocket question to have when talking to frustrated members? And to say, she had brought up something you had said, and I've heard this in other network talks about how can I help you solve this problem? What can we do together to help your member or help you, and then work on solutions so that you're more positive focused. So I thought that was a good back pocket question.
100%.
So that would be great in the chat if you want to put some ideas for back pocket questions.
Okay, back pocket questions in the chat.
Yeah, if anyone else has any thoughts.
You guys know what she's talking about, your back pocket questions? Those are going to be on
Now, is that,
page
those are
145.
different questions because at different times, different people, like I took that as the question, if you're with someone that you've not met before and, it's quiet and no one's saying anything, something that you could ask them. Is that what that is?
Mhm. It's the, it says sometimes it's page 145. Sometimes conversations don't go as planned. Either the other person isn't talking as much as you expected, or you're getting one-word answers. A 10-second chunk of silence feels like an eternity. You cringe because it's so awkward. You need to pull something out of your back pocket fast. How about a handy back pocket question? So it's like, what do you think about fill in the blank? Being able to pick from a handful of issues that require some explanation, like work, current events, avoid politics, religion, and other potentially sensitive areas. So weather is always positive. How do you feel
So
about
not,
spring?
so not like, hey, what do you think about the elections? That's not a good one.
Probably not. Even football right now is not safe.
No. I think Kara had one. Oh.
Kara, did you have one to share, or did you just want that explanation?
No, I shared one. One of mine just is that I like to ask people what keeps them busy during the day, not what do you do or what work do you do, and so sometimes they're not sure, and ask it another way. And then, when they mention what they do, there's always follow up or whatever.
I like to know what people do when they're not at work.
Well, and I like asking it that way. I learned that from someone else, because if they don't work, you're not slamming them or whatever. So
Exactly. Like, oh, you're not, yeah, the value there. But asking, what do you do when you're not doing what you do? I like that. I like that a lot.
I didn't come up with that. I learned that from someone. So
that's smart, though. Well, you taught us, so thank you. Melinda, did you have something?
I'm going to unmute. It's loud at my house right now with a bunch of teenage boys, and my internet's bad. I like to ask people their hobbies. Like, even if you don't have time to do your hobbies, like, what is it what do they enjoy? Like, if they could just sit and read a book and tune everybody out, or hike or walk, or like, everybody's hobbies are really varied. And sometimes the hobbies that people have are not what you would think at all. Like, yeah, like just those questions that question often surprises me.
It's good.
Or those answers to that question often surprise me.
Yeah, you never know what kind of hidden talents that you're going to unearth. So, Erica, did you have something? Thought I saw you raise your hand.
I was gonna to share my experience when I post some words that I shouldn't post when I just started sharing on Facebook. It wasn't that bad. It was just about the bug spray. And I was telling this to Melinda. I was a post with Jen Southern, and we were talking about the bug spray. And because I was really new into it, I just put bug repellent that I use it when I go camping with the scouts, right? So she texts me right away to ask me, and very nice, very sweet, how Jen is, if I could reword the whole post, because we couldn't use the repellent on that post. So I went and I did it. And then and that helped me, because she also taught me where to look for those words when I need it. She really, let's say, empowered me with the resources, which is really important to do. And that also helped us when we are doing the group in Spanish, because we have to keep reminding people that there are certain things we cannot do. We cannot say there, and we have to be careful and, things like that. So I think it's, it's the way we share and just to be kind to one another.
Absolutely. I think I've got to brag on Adriana here when she was talking about it, because I actually tried to see if I could get her goat and said, well, I have freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want and nobody can stop me. And she said, oh, I understand. Do you want to tell them what you said, Adriana?
Well, I will have to say it again because I don't remember.
Well, I can say whatever I want. You can't,
Yes.
you can't tell, they can't tell me what to say.
Yes, of course, nobody's going to tell you what to say or what not to say. This is just for us to help a young living be on the safe side. And that's totally different from what I said before, but this is what's coming out right now.
Well, and what I love, but what she even said was, oh, I agree. And she said that, but we're not doctors. And that was another time whenever I was pushing you again. You said, one of the important things is that we have the company around, that we want to be able to get our oils. And so we want to comply with the law. But there are ways to tell our stories without using those hot words. And then whenever I said, well, what if someone's dying and they need my help? And you said, well, remember, we're not doctors. We're not here to diagnose or treat. I mean, she was great. She was awesome. So I didn't fluster her at all.
I passed the test. Been long enough.
Flying colors. So those are all important things to say. And then leading people, she said, I'm going to send you a link, or I can help you find it, the hot list in your virtual office. And I'd be happy to, look at your posts in the future if you want me to just see them before you post them too. So she did a great job.
Well, I think it's also good. Sorry, Erica, I just talked instead of raised my hand. To, when you contact that person or call them or whatever, to say, hey, tell me about, why you posted that, because they do it out of excitement or whatever, so it lets them tell you kind of see where they're coming from, you're listening to them, and then you can go from there.
Excellent point. Thank you, Carol.
I think another positive thing is to, as soon as the next time they post something on Facebook, whatever it is, to love it, comment on it, encourage it. You want to build them up. And I think that's what it's always good to do that in our own community. So make sure you're following that person, not to be their police or comment, but to be able to make sure that you're an ally, that they see you as a friend and someone that they can go to, not a bully or a police officer.
I've got something to say that might help as well. I have had some of my customers and some of my brand partners reach out to me and correct me on some of my social media posts. And I'm like, you know what? You have to be ready to accept that and not think of yourself as, wait a second, I've been doing this longer than you. I think I know what I'm doing. No, you've got to be willing to accept that and look at it and say, you know what? Thank you so much for looking out for me. And thank you for looking out for our company. I'm really glad you caught that. I just didn't think right at that moment, And so just realize as leaders that if your members, if your customers, if they're reaching out to you and they're helping you, be willing to accept that, okay? Because we're not perfect.
Very good point.
And you know what? I think we have to, when we're receiving those feedbacks, we have to look at it as a feedback, not necessarily as a criticism, and maybe we can also share that with the other members. So when we give them feedback, because feedback, it's like a treasure instead of just feeling attacked, and it's the way we use the words. So it's true.
So you guys brought this up. It's really interesting. There's a chapter in this book called Diamonds in the Rough. This is not a Young Living book that you can apply. Diamonds in the Rough, why you should treat all feedback as a gift. So that's really cool. He only profits from praise who values criticism. So I think that that's important. I won't read the whole thing, but anyways, I also want to make sure we understand who's the author. The author of that quote was Heinrich Heine. It's German. Heinrich, Heinrich, and the last name is Heine. Maybe it's just Hein instead of Heine. I just read it and then I said it and then I thought, might not be. Okay, social awareness. Okay, so the other thing I was going to bring up too, as leaders, we get into these situations where this is this scenario that happened this last week that made me want to do this was it was leaders that were cross-line. One had said a hot word and the other one had come to me. And so I was in between and I said, talk to each other. And so that's an encouraging thing too, as you have people that are emotionally intelligent, that can have those types of conversations. And then after they talked, I had conversations with them individually to just close loops. So I think it's just really important, and we're not gossiping back and forth. You're not saying, you know, that person was out of line, or you know, I can't believe she posted that. You're not doing that. You're just being a neutral situation to say, thank you, as if you're in the position of the other person. Thank you for, you know, stepping up and doing that in a way that was kind. And then to the other person, thank you for taking that feedback, because we definitely want to make sure that our posts are protecting ourselves and the company. So, but as much as you can, as leaders, yes, constructive, not destructive. Keely, very good. As much as we can as leaders, let's help our leaders grow with EQ as well. Let's give them opportunities and challenge them, because that's only going to strengthen your business.
If I can ask you something, see what your thoughts are. One of the hardest things for me has been so far when my downline in Mexico, there is a lot of hot words being said by all sorts of levels of even leaders in social media. Even there's some doctors that talk very loudly about hot words, not only from Young Living, from other companies too. And so what I get a lot is, how come so and so are saying this and they are, you know, up rank, you know, or from this other company, how come they can talk and we can't? And so this is a little hard to explain, but when it's from Young Living, people from Young Living from other groups that are posting really hot words, you know, it's tougher. So any suggestions?
I do, but I'm sure somebody else has valuable input they'd like to. Keely, are you trying to unmute? There you go.
There's been a few times I've seen that, and I've had some of my leaders come to me with that and said, hey, did you see what so-and-so posted? Did you see what Diamond, Crown Diamond, Royal Crown Diamond just posted? I'm just sharing what they said. I'm just sharing what they said. Why can't I do that? And so those are harder conversations, Adriana. They're really hard conversations. There's been times that even like within, because there are some leadership groups, like there's a platinum leadership group I'm involved with that will spot a few of those things. But instead of like what Laura was saying about, we're not here to sit there and gossip, and we need to go directly to that person. Okay, that's a biblical concept. Go to them. If you can't go to them, find out who their upline are, find out who they are. I mean, that's what we do within the group. We're like, whose group is this person in? Can we contact them? We need to help them out and get that information off the web to protect them and to protect the company. And we find it, and it's pretty amazing how fast that happens. Now, I realize I'm addressing just how do you handle that situation, not how do you talk to that person. How do you talk to your people who are saying, but Keely, they said it, why can't I? Okay, that's where you've got to say, well, listen, we're not all perfect. We all make mistakes still. There's times when I do as well, but here is what corporate says. Here is what corporate says. We need to do our best to follow by the rules And we can't even sit there and look at what other companies are doing either. Okay. If they haven't been reprimanded by the government, that time may come for them at some point. Okay. So we've got to follow within the rules that have been set for us so that we can preserve those products and we can still keep getting them. That's what's most important here. Okay. Is we want to be sure and keep our products coming so everybody still gets it. And so that's what I help them focus. It's not about looking out here what everybody else is. Where's our guidelines? Are we walking in them? And if we need to help some of those people get their language corrected, reach out to them privately, or see if you can't get in contact with their upline to talk to them. Okay, that's how you do it.
Yeah. And you handle it just the same way, the conversation the same way, even if you may not have a relationship. Hey, I love the stuff you post, use that sandwich. I love, your pictures. I have been told, I noticed a couple words you used are on the hot list. I don't want, you to get in trouble, or, have you ever had upline help you with this? And you can use the Facebook Messenger has a voice recording instead of words. And for me, I like to use that instead because people hear my tone and inflection. So that could be an option if it's somebody you don't know or have a relationship with. Because I have reached out to people before to ask a question on conduct issues and got snapped right back. And I'm like, alrighty then. Because we have recourse in our own company. If people don't walk the line and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, then they can conduct@youngliving.com is where we're supposed to send it. And really, we want to be able to keep the company protected. Outside of our company, we don't have recourse. So it just, sometimes it's that relationship where you have with that person and it's like having a kid. Well, they're doing it. How come they can do it and I can't? Well, because we have a different standard. We have a different standard, and we're going to do what we need to do to protect the company, because we don't want to have to come back 5 years from now and be dealing with legal issues, or 2 years or 2 months. We're going to protect ourselves and our company, and we're going to do what's right.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies.
Laura, I wanted to brag on you and share, and I had posted about this, but several years ago, I had, to make long short, someone who loved their product and within just like few hours changed her mind and canceled her account after some very real big things. And with she was shut down. I mean, nothing to do with it. And I did not know how to respond. And so thankfully, just because I hate conflict, I didn't respond. And in the meantime, I was at Laura's and we were doing something like this. And I was like, I have an example. And so we went through it. And she encouraged me to sit down and write a letter to that person and say, just keep the bridge, hey, I'm here. You had a very real, amazing thing happen. If you ever change your mind and want to come back, know that I'm here. And so I sent it. She acknowledged that she got it and said that was very sweet. She moved right after that, so I didn't have her. She lived away and then she moved somewhere else. So I didn't have her phone number anymore. I mean, nothing. So I just, kind of did that. Well, November, of this last year, she texted me and said, and I didn't see these until a few hours later. Long story short, she reactivated and she has been ordering a ton every month now. I don't know what happened, but because I wrote that letter and extended that bridge, she came right back. So
awesome.
Several years later. Yeah.
Good job, Kara. Way to not ever give up. And we don't want to give up on people. And sometimes people just go through phases of life that go through. Sometimes people have to mature. I had a conversation with a leader a couple weeks ago about a challenge she's been having with a team member, and she just goes, "I'm going to keep loving them. I'm just going to keep loving them." And I just understand this is the nature of the relationship. And we're going to, and so she is very high EQ. And so that's just hearing and talking to leaders and saying, wow, I feel you there. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that later. I'm just going to keep loving them. So, and we've seen Keely, I know Keely has seen turnarounds. Anybody who's been doing this long enough, Melinda, I know you've been, so those of you who are still fairly new in the Young Living business and are building teams, you have young teams, just be encouraged. You're going to get opportunities to put these into practice, and you're going to be better prepared than we were in the beginning. So it doesn't mean that because you have high EQ that you're not going to have conflict or challenges. It just means you're prepared now to jump in and handle it. And if you mess up, Joy talked about that. She's like, I totally messed up. And then you just work on repairing that bridge and come to one of us, come back to our group. We only have one more week, you guys, of EQ. And then we're done. And then we're going to take a week break. And then we're going to move our study night to Thursday. And then we're going to be doing some of our favorite books. We're going to do a best books series. And so we're going to be going to some reference books, and then we'll have another book study that starts in the spring. So, all right, guys, anything else tonight? Okay, Sylvia.
Yes, I just wanted to say in our scenario that we went into the break room that I really liked how Kara spoke. She did a great job. I was talking about how excited I was about what the frankincense oil did for this person, and I was just so excited, wanted to share with everybody. And she did a good job of not bursting my bubble and being there, encouraging about the excitement that I had, but yet we needed to try to change our wording because it was going to hurt the company the way y'all were saying. And she brought that example up as well, how we want to have these products to be able to use, continue using for other people as well. And very politely asked, could you please delete that post as soon as possible, as soon as we're done with our conversation, and then do it a different way. But she did a very great job, and just wanted to share that. Thanks, Kara.
You know what I love is that we're all over the country, and we're in all time zones in the US, and we're going to get to be at convention pretty soon. Not this year maybe, but or a farm or inside. We're all going to get to, like, I know you. We've had EQ together. So I can't wait for you to meet in person. Oh, Tammy, I've enjoyed the study. It's been good for me to have a commitment to be here every week and stretch myself. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, you guys stop. There's no crying in EQ. Okay, there's a lot of crying in EQ. This is awesome. You guys are awesome. Oh, big hugs. All right, everybody give big hugs. Big hugs. Big hugs. This is going to be our cover photo for the for the video. Okay, love you guys. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next week. And you'll get the replay for tonight, and all the other replays will come to you tomorrow afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.